Welcome back, everybody, to another shocking courtroom episode of Lockdown 23-1. That's right, today we're going to witness two defendants get sentenced for atrocities against children. And keep in mind, when you go to prison with these kind of charges, if you're not put into some kind of protective housing unit, in some states, there's a high percentage that you're not going to be walking out that prison alive. Because inmates despise more than anything, anyone, abusing children in any way, shape, or form. So let's get right into the smoke show, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Alright, so first up, we're traveling to Detroit. Dr. Levron, hopefully I pronounced his name right, he's going to be sentenced after pleading no contest to preying on young hockey players over a number of years. This guy's definitely bottom of the barrel, but every defendant has their chance to speak in court before sentencing, and that's what we're going to roll into now.
Yes, Judge Holmes. Your Honor, it is difficult to say many things here, but as I stand here in front of you, and I see the individual victims that were affected either directly or indirectly from my action. It is very difficult to try and say anything for myself, and I'm not going to. I take full responsibility of what I did. It was wrong. It was a poor judgment, and I completely regret it. And I can't even explain to you how much pain it's causing them and me. I cannot undo what I have done. I heard what they're saying. I see what they're doing, and I see how they look at me. I'm not a monster. I'm a good man, and I mean well. And this was wrong, and I never meant to hurt anyone. I take complete responsibility for my actions, from what I did.
Hold on, man. I haven't done a deep dive into this, but how could you have done this type of stuff but had no intention of hurting anybody? If you didn't think it could possibly scar someone for the rest of their life, especially children, they're going to remember that forever. And for him to say it like that in front of the judge, the judge got to be saying the same thing to herself. This guy's a maniac. Just my 2 cents, just my 2 cents.
People got hurt. I understand that. I've been incarcerated for 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Not much to do.
We have a lot more than that coming.
Thinking of these people and what they're going through, what they went through, and I understand what they're saying clearly, and I sincerely apologize, and I sincerely am sorry of what happened in those 2.5 years that I've been occupied with thinking of why am I in this position? 30 years of good practice, I had nothing like that. I'm at loss of words to express to you how sorry I am. It is very tough to say that because of what I hear and see. I hope that these individual victims will find place in their heart to reach peace and to reach a place where they can have no more pain
I feel as though he's apologizing, but not because he wants to. Almost as though he's saying he's innocent without saying he's innocent. Just giving the courts what they want to hear, right? Because he's saying it's very hard for me to say sorry. After 30 years of practice, why am I here? I'm sorry, though. I'm sorry. This guy's playing both sides. Inconspicuously. If I were to guess, the judge has got to be seeing this, and she's going to bring the thickest smoke cloud possible. I know I would.
I know what I'm facing, and the prison is a decision that I am going with it.
Wow.
I know that there's no words that can describe how much I wish this was undone. I'm guaranteeing that this will never happen again. I will never put anyone in this predicament again, ever. And the reason I'm saying it is because I am not a mean person. I am compassionate and I meant well, and I meant well. I did not mean to hurt anyone. I never hurt anyone in my life with all these years. With all of that, I accept every responsibility.
See, this is where I just can't take it, all right? Whether I'm facing, 20 to 30, plea deal would take off 10 years, maybe 20 years, it doesn't matter. Ain't no way I'm gonna be pleading guilty to a crime like this. I'm gonna fight it tooth and nail. Even down to sentencing, I'm gonna plead my innocence and scream for everybody to hear this is bullshit. Right? So to see this guy in here, kind of pretty much saying he's kind of innocent, he didn't mean to cause no harm, never harmed anyone in his life. He's still willing to take this, prison ride and full responsibility for his actions. But, he's never hurt nobody. He's a good guy. He's playing both sides here. You can't do that in the courtroom. They've seen all this stuff time and time again.
The time to agree to whatever sentencing and consequences come out of this. And the most important thing is the remorse. It's 2.5 years of remorse that I could not express to anyone except to my lawyer, and a very lengthy time to the lady from the PSI. I expressed that remorse, and I want to express it to all the victims. I can't tell you how sorry I am for my actions, but I take full responsibility for my actions.
After all that spiel beforehand?
I appreciate that you gave me the time to talk, and I pray and I hope that you will listen to what I'm saying as well. Thank you very much.
Right, Mr. Levin, I hear you speak, and I'm hearing it kind of circular, right? I've done no wrongdoing, I'm not a bad person, I'm not a mean person, I apologize for what I did, but yet I really never did anything, I didn't mean to come from a bad place, please forgive me. I truly do not believe that as you stand here right now, you feel that you have done anything wrong. I find your behaviors and what I've read in this report to be sociopathic in nature, and that someone who is functioning in their everyday life for all these years practicing medicine and figuring out the best perfect ploy that you can hide behind this medical degree, that you can engage with these hockey associations, that you can then through that gain trust through these parents who are working hard, they're sending their kids to play hockey, they're doing everything they can, and you're the person that stands there with open arms. Don't worry about a thing. I'm going to take care of your child. Whatever they need, guess what? Come visit me at my house in my basement, no charge. Mr. and Mrs. such and such, don't worry about it. I know you're busy. Don't come. Just drop them off. They're in good hands. I've got them. All right? And every single time you got away with it, you became emboldened to continuously commit the crimes against these children and young men.
Wow.
You had them exactly where you wanted them to be, and you took advantage of it. And everyone in the world thought so highly of you. You're physician such and such. You're associated with these hockey leagues, and everyone believed you. And you were playing the perfect part. And even as you stand here now, I'm not a mean person. I didn't mean to do anything wrong to these people. Have you read the statement in the pre-sentence report?
This judge is so on point, it's giving me goosebumps. Everything she's saying is exactly what I was thinking.
I've observed you in court several times. This is the first time me and you get to have this conversation. You constantly acted as if you were somehow superior, that when anybody makes a statement about your wrongdoing, you mumble, you speak over people, you don't like it, you don't want to hear it, you don't want it to become a fact, because somehow you've convinced yourself that you're the most intelligent person and everybody else is wrong. Well, guess what? You pled to 28 charges. You are now a convicted sex offender. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you are unable to harm one other person. I don't think I'm ever going to get across to you to fix you, and I don't think that you'll ever be rehabilitated. Personally, if I had the option to do it, I would sentence you to 3 life sentences. Because that's what you deserve. The court is going to depart upward from the guidelines.
Upward departure, baby!
And that's count 1, count 2, count 5, count 8, count 9, count 10, count 17, count 18, count 19, 001 FC as to count 1 and count 2, 770 FH, that's count 1, and 939 FHS to count 1. The departure rationale is that the defendant exploited victims' vulnerability. Although that is already scored in an offense variable, the OVs certainly do not take into perspective that an individual would use over the course of his medical term and practice, using his physician's license and placing him in a position where he's perceived in a trustworthy manner in society. Certainly there's no statutes or case law that support something like this. We often score exploiting victims' vulnerability for the size of the individual who would otherwise be convicted of exploitation. Here it certainly is at a much larger scale. Although the defendant expresses a great deal of remorse here on the record, the court is left to weigh the defendant's credibility throughout the course of the proceedings. And specifically, even one of the victims had mentioned in the pre-sentence report that during her time testifying at the preliminary exam, the defendant also refuted under his breath and mumbled and said things discrediting that individual. And the court had observing that,
notated that
at the time of the plea. The court, as it said, is not convinced that the defendant is remorseful. The court finds that the defendant has no appreciation of his wrongdoing. He refuses to refer to the victims as victims within his pre-sentence report, somehow still engaged in his mind that these acts could be consensual, although he was the medical doctor and they were the patient. He's emboldened to make comments regarding continuing practice in the medicine in a different country. This wasn't elicited or wasn't asked. It was just, hey, just so you know, you're not going to be licensed to practice here anymore. Does that mean I'm not going to be able to practice in another country? That indicates to the court that he would, in fact, have plans to continue practicing outside of the United States.
Well, if I were to guess, she's going to make sure that you don't practice anywhere ever again. I don't know how much time he's facing, but like I said, she just spoke about why she's doing the upward departure. You know, he seems like he's apologetic, but the courts are saying, no, that's bullcrap. Hogwash, right? That word's kind of hard for me to say, but hogwash, you know, usually brings thick clouds of smoke. So Bobby, go ahead and cue the canisters.
His conduct towards the victims while testifying, as the court noted, is absolutely absurd and disgraceful.
Disgusting.
Simply, Mr. Lebron portrays that his statements and nonverbal behavior, that he's done no wrong, that his behavior is, this court finds to be sociopathic in behavior, and assuming that these boys and men, under the guise of medical professional, participated in these actions. So with that being said, I'm going to deviate above guidelines. That's the rationale for the court's guidelines. The court needs to indicate that for the record. But before I issue your sentence, Mr. Lebron, I will tell you, you are the reason parents lie awake at night and then evenings in their beds worried about where their children are. You are the reason. You are the monster. You are the monster among us in society. You're the person that everybody should have feared, but didn't know it, and it was right in front of their face. So when you walk away from here, all you've said in your PSI is, I've served, I've done service, I've been this doctor, I've traveled, I've done good in different countries. That is not who you walk away from this court, all right? You walk away here a predator, a pedophile, and a disgrace to the medical profession. That's exactly who you are. Therefore, it is the sentence of the court as to docket 232-85625FH, criminal sexual conduct, third degree force or coercion. It's the sentence of the court that the defendant serve 120 months to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. He will receive his 749 days of credit. The guideline range here at 51 to 85, the court articulated the reasons for departure. 232-85625 count 2 is 120 months to 15 years of corrections, 749 days of credit. As to count 3, that's the fourth degree, it's 1 to 2 years MDOC, 749 days credit. Count 4, CSC in the fourth degree, 1 to 2 years MDOC, 749 days credit. Count 5, criminal sexual conduct, third degree. It's the sentence of the court that you serve 120 months to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections with a credit of 749 days. Count 6, criminal sexual conduct, fourth degree, 1 to 2 with 749 days of credit. Count 7 is a fourth degree, it's 1 to 2, Michigan Department of Corrections with 749 days credit. Count 8 is criminal sexual conduct, third degree. It's the sentence of the court that you serve 120 months to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections with credit of 749 days. Count 9 is a third degree. That's 120 months to 15 years. MDOC, 749 days credit. Count 10, CSC, third degree, 120 months to 15 years, 749 days credit. Count 11 is it's a CSC third, 120 to 15 years, Michigan Department of Corrections, 749 days credit. Count 12, criminal sexual conduct, fourth degree, it's 1 to 2, MDOC with 749 days credit. Count 13 is a fourth degree, that's 1 to 2, 749 days credit. Count 14, also fourth degree, 1 to 2, with 749 days of credit. Count 15 is criminal sexual conduct, third degree. This is 120 months to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections with 749 days of credit. Count 16 is a fourth degree, it's 1 to 2 with 749 days of credit. Count 17 is criminal sexual conduct, second degree relationship. That's 120 months to 15 years with 749 days credit. Count 18 is criminal sexual conduct, second degree, 120 months to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 749 days credit. Count 19, criminal sexual conduct, second degree, 120 to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 749 days of credit. Count 20 is a fourth degree, 1 to 2 with 749. 21, fourth degree, 1 to 2 with 749. 22 is a fourth degree, 1 to 2 with 749. Moving on to file 001 FC, criminal sexual conduct, third degree. It's 120 months to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. Here we have 88 days of credit. 001 FC is to count 2, third degree. It's 120 months to 15 years, 888 days credit. File ending in 771 FH, child sexually abusive activity aggravated. It's 120 months to 25 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 209 days of credit. Count 2 is child sexually abusive material aggravated possession. That's 80 months to 10 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 209 days credit. 939 FH is child sexually abusive activity, 75 months to 20 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections with 208 days credit. 939 FH is child sexually abusive material. That's 2 to 4 with 208 days credit. All files run concurrent amongst each other, and all counts run concurrent to one another. It does appear that we have DNA on file, and we've got a crime victim right fee of $130 per docket. There's going to be no contact with the victims, GW, DA, NN, JC, RC, JB, NP, DM, CI, JC, AG, IG, JN, and probably the hundreds more that we don't know about. Restitution is $14.96, $136, and that's for file 625, 001 on 136, 001 is 136, 770 is 136, 939 is 136. We're going to comply with STD testing. We're going to store a lifetime registration. You do have the right to file an application for leave to appeal with the Court of Appeals. If you can't afford an attorney, the court would appoint one for you. You have 42 days to make that request. Mr. Jones?
Your Honor, I have had him initial and date each. There's 4 total for each one. Do you want me to e-file? You want me to, however you want me to present it, but it's been done.
So the record will reflect.
Yeah, that's
all right,
fine.
anything else for the record?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor. Thank you.
All rise.
Follow the smoke trail, buddy. Those guys in D block, C block, whatever block.
You may be seated.
They're waiting for you. Yeah. Maybe not right now, but somewhere later on down the road. Altogether, he was sentenced to 10 to 25 years in prison. And what exactly does that mean? It means that he could, if he keeps getting in trouble in prison, parole board or whatever says no, he can't get out, the max that he will have to do is 25 years and then he'll be set free. Now, on the downside is he could do a minimum of 10. And I think Michigan has some pretty good time. I'm not quite sure. They might have very strict good time, meaning if inmates are good in prison, they get a little time cut. Some states differ, right? So he could get out in less than 10 with the appropriate good time and not getting in no trouble, but even though she gave him probably the high end of the sentencing, it still wasn't adequate enough for her. That's why the judge said, I wish I could have given you 3 life sentences, but they can't. There's rules and regulations to these sentencings, man, and sometimes, most of the time, the judges can't just do anything and everything they want. There's a process. And some people I know are probably punching at the air right now saying that this dude got a slap on the wrist. In my eyes, he definitely did as well. But the next case, it's actually very short, but to the point, all right? The individual that we're going to witness in the courtroom next is accused of sexually abusing his adoptive children and a foreign exchange student. I don't think he's going to be able to defend himself in prison in this kind of chair.
You're going to have to speak up for me. Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Guilty.
Is that a yes? You're pleading guilty because you're guilty?
Yes.
Did you go over the paperwork with your attorney?
Yes.
Did he answer all your questions?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
If you're not a citizen, I must tell you that a plea of guilty in this case, which you are charged in these cases, which you are charged in, may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission to this country, or your denial of naturalization under federal law. Knowing this, do you still want to proceed?
Yes.
State.
State offer states one in all 5 charges.
Without objection, all 5 charges. With no objection made, I'll.
Let's all hold our horses here for a second. Is that a denim jean jacket? Blended with Persian 4,000 count scarf. Unreal. I don't think the defendant knows what's coming his way.
With respect to cause number 1908138, I sentence you to 40 years in the Texas Department of Corrections. With respect to cause number 1808485, I sentence you to 40 years in the Texas Department of Corrections. In charge number 1808478, I sentence you to 40 years in the Texas Department of Corrections. In cause number 1808439, I sentence you to 40 years in the Texas Department of Corrections. And in cause number 165064, I sentence you to 15 years in the Texas Department of Corrections.
Wow.
Is there any reason why the sentence should not be fulfilled?
No, Your Honor.
With that said, you will be remanded to the Sheriff's Department, where they will send you to the Texas Department of Corrections to fulfill these sentences given to you. Are these to run together?
They are to run together, Your Honor.
And am I getting dismissals on the other cases?
You will, Judge. We have victim impact statements to be made at a later date when we get the 2 other children into Houston.
That is our understanding, Your Honor.
Okay. So with that said, you're going to be remanded to the Sheriff's Department to fulfill your sentence. You realize that you're never going to get out of prison. You're going to die in prison. You understand that? 40 years? How old are you?
Speak up, sir.
I don't know.
You know how old you are.
I've discussed. these sentences.
Yeah, he does.
The fact that there are 40 years with Mr. Cohen, he does understand.
I know he understands that. I know you understood everything I've said to you from the beginning to the end. You ran an interesting con, sir. You violated all these young boys, and you're here today facing justice. And whatever age you are, plus 40 years, chances are you get out are very slim to none, and you deserve that sentence. You understand that, right?
He ain't
All right.
gonna make it no 40
Thank
clip.
you.
No, sir. Follow the smoke trail straight to that old concrete coffin. Oh, man. Make sure your battery pack's
Yes, sir.
charged for that 40 years.
Jacob Vella.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, the second clip probably made you feel a little bit better about the slap on the wrist from the first clip. Even though 10 to 25 is still a stretch for that guy's age, it would have been much better to see him get a little 40-piece like homeboy in the chair. He ain't never going home. That's a fact. And he's playing dumb with the judge. Did you hear what he said? I know you understand me and how old you are, bro. Send his ass to D-Block. But until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. I got plenty more content coming your way. In the meantime, though, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.